dog shit taste. So there's that.
Well, that's
That's the first thing that
we're
came
live,
out.
by the way. If that's the first thing that went live, that's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah.
We're talking about whiskeys.
Yeah, I have terrible taste in whiskey. I have terrible taste in everything but my spouse and my friends. The rest, horrible. Bad food.
You're at least accurate on one of those things. Spouse seems lovely. Friends, debatable.
We're kind of a motley crew.
Cheers to everybody.
Remains debatable.
Evening.
Cool.
I need a glass.
Later.
Yeah, you got to get a glass. So we're here for the pregame, and we are discussing. We got into a conversation as a result of Paul's constant poking around these concepts. It came down to a question. In training, specifically active shooters, what we were talking about, but just in training in general, if we gave people open-ended representations of their priorities, how would it influence training? Would it help people make decisions more quickly and effectively based on their idiosyncrasies and realities, or would it cause glitches and hiccups and inaction? I think if we said to somebody, here are your priorities. You are priority number one, not you as a person, not you emotionally, but your ability to influence the situation is priority number one, because when you lose that ability, you can't help anyone and you are less than useless. Priority number two is all of the innocents in a situation who did not volunteer for any of this. Then priority number three is the asshole who did volunteer for all of this. Now, this is based on Rory's model that he picked up somewhere along the way, I don't know. And I'm wondering whether or not, rather than saying run, hide, fight, or this, that, and the third, if we just said to people, here are your priorities, do what makes sense with those priorities. And then when we did the debrief, we ask, if we're doing a scenario, what did you hear? What did you see? How did your priorities influence your decisions? Would that help people make decisions without that kind of glitch of, well, wait a minute, he said run, then hide. I hit first. Did I do it wrong? How would that influence training? What do you guys think?
Mr. Miller.
Oh, I got to go first. I was waiting for
But you had a good riff going before we went live, naturally. So
yeah, but we had a riff going. Now it's kind of live. We're trying to recreate.
I got to rekindle it.
So one of the reasons this came up is because Paul was pointing out, and he's been to a class recently, good instructor, brought out some great stuff, but it's one of those, we have to disambiguate within ourselves between our priorities and our preferences. Okay, so priorities are what needs to happen, preferences are what we like to do. So if you really care about yourself and your family and something bad is happening, your priority is to get your family out, which involves you staying healthy enough to get them out. But if your preference is, but I really want to fight this guy, that's not helping your family and that's not helping you. So this is a languaging thing to channel Tammy that we can do to help people figure out what they're supposed to do. Because a lot of time what you like to do is not the best thing. If someone's trying to shoot you, but you really like debating, not going to help you a fucking lot, no matter how good you are at it. So
are you speaking in 7.62? Because that might help.
Yeah, that can be a pretty convincing argument. But this is, you know, and then Malcolm was riffing on this, and one of his things was, if we influence or encourage students to come up from a completely blank state with their priority order, would it be good? And would it be a sensible order of priorities? And I immediately said, the cool thing is everyone comes the same list of priorities because there's only one, and then realized that no, nobody fucking comes the same list of priorities. Most of them are emotional. Most people want to save other people. They want on some level to be the hero. That's ingrained in them. But one of the things in Fort Sam Houston they hammered into us is a dead medic has never saved anybody. You must be alive to be a good medic, which means you don't do stupid shit and get your ass shot off because you're trying to be a hero.
So we have a mutual friend who hasn't approved the specifics of the story, so I'm gonna leave it vague. But we know him, and he went through one of these types of situations, and after completely and totally and successfully maintaining his priorities and even extending his influence in a positive way, spent a bunch of time second guessing it. And it's understandable because we all of us want to be the guy at the end of Armageddon who sends the sun back up into the spaceship and blows the damn asteroid up, because the only thing sexier than being the hero is being the martyr. Because then you don't even have the complex hero's life afterwards. You just have, you get to, and that seems so easy. And so I think for a lot of people, if we lay out the priorities clearly, I'm curious what would come up in training or in life, their emotional priorities or their logical priorities, because I've seen both, either in myself and in others. I've seen people absolutely use their common sense and do what made the most sense in the moment, often beat themselves up for years for it, but at least in the moment they did what made sense. I've also seen people have their emotional priorities emerge and end up making terrible decisions. So if we're emotionally engineering people through training, how do you think those priorities would come up in, for example, scenarios, number one? And then number two, how would we help people tie together their emotional priorities and logical priorities, if we can?
That's one of the things that we have to do is, and that's the thing with, and this is why bad scenarios can be so terrible. And if the instructor's ego is involved and he wants everything to end with a fight, and so he's forcing people into fights they don't have to have because that's the only way to win the scenario.
Wait, you mean I don't have to run back in and get shot at in my training?
We all have stories about bad scenarios. And
I'm just kidding.
And a lot of them are shared stories because we pass these around. But this is one of the things that we have to have a talk. We have to bring up and influence is that what does a good win look like? You know, what does a bad win look like? Because you can have a bad win, and this is one of the problems with fighting. Is of all the basic strategies that humans use, fighting is the one that has the best chance of a catastrophic win. You have a catastrophic failure anywhere, but only fighting will get you the catastrophic win.
So I have a question for you though, individually, Rory.
Yeah.
How many fights and how many years did it take you to figure that out?
Different, because I was being paid to make these problems go away.
Fair.
Any of those, doing anything I was being paid to do when I wasn't being paid to do it would have been really foolish.
But well, never mind.
And yeah, and a couple times I would get involved in stuff, but it had a much higher possible consequences. And even within those, I tried to use the minimum level force, so, you know,
reasonably expected.
Blah, blah, blah. So I talked down a lot of things, but I had more confidence to go into places and attempt to talk them down, because I knew if that failed, I had multiple backup plans that escalated the levels of force. But what I was talking about is one of the things you mentioned, emotional reengineering. People have been fed such bullshit about what heroism is, what manliness is, what blah blah, that they'll sacrifice their families to not look like cowards. Okay.
Directly or indirectly, yeah.
Right. So like you were talking about, people go with their logical thing, and sometimes they feel bad about it, and they have to realize that's because of the narrative they've been fed. And then they do the thing that emotionally felt right. It has utterly catastrophic consequences. And that's one of the things that we have to talk about. You can't make this. I can't sit there and say that this is right for you, Malcolm. This is wrong for you, Malcolm. So this has to be an exploration. Let's walk this out. How would you feel if? What would happen if? What's likely to happen if? So one of the things that comes from Sanford Strong originally is, if there's a hostage situation and you can sneak out, leaving your family there, that is the smart thing to do. It feels emotionally horrible, but someone may need the intelligence you have to save your family. And if you're in that situation, you're unarmed against a terrorist siege, you're not going to do any jack shit other than get shot in front of your family. which is not going to be good for them.
Hmm.
And that's one of the ones that the cold math on it is emotionally terrible, but it's math.
It is.
Yeah.
Paul, you were going to ask a question though.
Well, no, Rory ended up kind of hitting it. I was going to say, how do you parse this out to students? Because it does come up, right? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, so I'll just say bravado over brain. Sometimes you give people an opportunity to walk it out. They make some bold statement of, well, I would blah, blah, blah in a situation, or I would feel, something I heard recently, I would feel like a coward if I ran away. And then you take 3 to 5 minutes and be like, well, let's walk this out. Basically what Roy just said.
But it's interesting though. Can I stop on that for a second?
Yeah, there's stuff on Facebook.
I think
read comments.
Oh yeah, let me just run this out real quick. One of the things I think people miss sometimes when they say stuff like "I would feel like a coward" is if your biggest problem is how you feel, you won. If you get to walk away from a bad situation with nothing but fucking feelings, good job, because you were victorious. If you have the space and the time to spend tens of thousands of dollars on therapy, you won. Good job.
Okay. And remind me later, because we don't have time for the Stabby McShank story.
Stabby McShank. Sounds amazing. Anyway, go ahead, Paul. You were talking about Facebook.
Well, Facebook. So Jay said, Rory, can you please repeat the name of the person you said that this comes from?
Sanford Strong.
Yeah, Strong on Defense is the name of the book. It's been out of print for a while, so it might be hard to find, but really well worth reading.
And then Nathan Corliss, who I know from Viadai in Minnesota, he said he just encountered a situation similar to this in his vaccination clinic. Guy said, if my mom has a reaction, I'm shooting everyone here. There were 80 people inside the clinic. Preference was to have him escorted out. Priority was to de-escalate and placate so he was calm and didn't cause trouble. As his mom was getting vaccinated, it was reported to the police after he left. So that's a tactically smart decision.
Absolutely.
So this actually gets a little bit into like tactical empathy, because on its face, that's a ridiculous and idiotic statement. But if you're talking it down to some degree, there is some value in saying, I love my mom too. This is where this guy's coming from. Let's see if we can use empathy to manipulate him into chilling the fuck out. Hey man, look, we're going to make a connection and do all the verbal things that people do. But it's interesting how as soon as you call it empathy, people get weird. That's why I put tactical in front of it, because it's like,
I have to throw this out. I'm an infighter. You know where my favorite place to be in a fight is? I like
100 yards away watching.
I was going to say, not there, yeah.
I like being, no, my my favorite place to be is right on your back shoulder or right here. That's actually my second favorite place to be. My favorite place to be is inside your head.
Yeah.
That's
tactical empathy.
Yeah.
There was a weird way for that joke to go. But anyway, it is interesting though that the priority part, because you can make an argument that if we as instructors, as whatever else, help people emotionally re-engineer themselves into lining up their logical priorities with their emotional priorities, we will have done stuff that's far more important than any of the physical skills they could ever get, because they won't be there, or they'll be there less frequently, or they'll make great decisions when they're there, or what have you. And it makes me wonder, with that kind of, frankly, with that kind of power, if you're helping people emotionally re-engineer themselves, what responsibilities come with it? And is it a power that you are ready for the average mom and pop strip mall Taekwondo instructor to have?
That is a great thing to end it on, since we're 1 minute away from time. But I will throw out that the average mom and pop strip mall martial arts school already has it. that anyone in that kind of position of training already has that power. The choice we have is to give them the clarity, the insight, the skill,
Mm.
use the power for good.
It's almost as if there's like books on this, Malcolm, or something.
Yeah, some guy. I think he was a writer or a janitor. I don't know, something.
A little bit of both.
Wait, time out.
Farmhand.
Were you a tactical janitor? You went in and cleaned up messes. Holy shit.
Wouldn't that be cool? Cleaning up this pile of shit. I like the idea.
On that.
All right. Well, yeah, we got to switch over to. We got 4 people waiting for our Chiron call. So, everybody watching live on Facebook, as always, thank you guys for joining. For the most part, we're here on Sundays, 5:45 for my time. So that's Eastern Standard. I don't know wherever you guys are in the world. Rory's in Narnia, so they don't really have clocks.
Or calendars.
As confirmed yesterday, by the way, when Rory did not know it was Saturday. So that's not a bad way to be. And yep, so if you guys want in the future, you are more than welcome to join. Tactical sanitation engineer. That's, you got to use the right term. I like that one, Nathan. If you guys want, you are welcome to join the conversation as well. This is the tier 2 of the Patreon, so $10 whole a month. Private group, lots of fun conversation going on. Some really interesting conversations. So, and we'll be honest, it's $10 because we don't want to deal with trolls. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So.
And yet we still do.
Not that much.
Yeah, but we like those trolls. There are trolls. It's okay.
We're still
All right, guys.
All right, later, y'all.
Bye, Facebook.